Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. One more week, another opportunity of studying the Spiritist magazine. Make sure we have audio. Welcome, dear listener. If you're new to us, this is the Spiritist magazine program at Kardec Radio every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We come together to study one of the messages from one of the issues of the Spiritist magazine. You can always find any of the messages discussed and much more by visiting spiritistmagazine.org. Here we have this beautiful day today, wherever you are in the world. Here it happens to be spring. So today we're going to read a message from issue 62 of the Spiritist magazine, written by MeiMei through the mediumship of Francisco Candido Xavier. And the message of today is titled Others' Hopes. And we will together read it and discuss it and find ways to apply the teachings to our daily lives. That's the whole point, is for us to improve each and every day and use the blessings of the messages of the Spiritist magazine for us to evolve, because that's the goal, right? Evolve through love that ultimately is action in the benefit of others. So as I said, you can visit spiritistmagazine.org, where you can download the PDF version of the magazine, which is what I'm currently sharing with you right now on the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook Live, then you will have a view of what the PDF version of the magazine looks on my computer. If you don't, that's fine. You can always download the app and read it later, or you can just listen to our conversation. Normally, we read the messages and one make comment on the messages, and we raise questions about how can we apply these teachings. Always, friends, think about how can I apply this to my daily lives. So the message is titled Others' Hopes. So what are your hopes and dreams, dear friend? What are the hopes of others around you? So have we stopped to think about the ones next to us? What are they hoping for? What are we all hoping for during this planetary transition moments as the Earth is moving towards a planet of regenerations? So let's look a little bit about, we'll look at the sidebar. We'll look at the thumbnails of the magazine. So from issue 62, this is the cover of issue 62. And then you're going to scroll down or open the app to page 24 of the magazine. And here is the message by MeiMei through Francisco Candido Xavier. Feel free to write your comments, to write us questions, to like, to subscribe, to follow, to all of those things that concern the way we share the teachings in our daily lives. Remember, the apostles wrote, Paul wrote his letters. We use the internet and the digital means of disseminating the Spiritist doctrine, as well as Chico Xavier wrote books, Divaldo wrote books, so on and so forth, right? So here we go, by MeiMei. Quote, almost always, we concentrate soul and life in our hopes, but hardly do we find ourselves thinking about the hopes of others. So she's saying here, almost always, we are always thinking about us, our hopes. What do I want? Where do I want to go? So she says, hardly we think about others. So what are the others' hopes? So when you go through your day, driving on the interstate, on the road to work, if you work or if you're dropping off your kids, running an errand, if you're walking down a path, there are many others around you. What are their hopes? Have you ever stopped to think about where are they going? Most of the time we're thinking about ourselves, right? Where do I need to go? When I need to get by, so on and so forth. So she's saying, practice withdrawing yourself from self-preoccupations. in order to reflect on others' wishes. So, first thing is recognizing that we are self preoccupied. We are always thinking about ways where in which our needs are met. Nothing wrong, it's a law of preservation. But then, to which point do we consider ourselves to have enough? The current state of affairs of the world, the difficulties and uncertainties we face, perhaps right now we're going to be learning soon that we have enough, right? But we stop self preoccupation to reflect on others' wishes. Who are others, friends? At this moment, we'll consider others people other than ourselves, our family members, our friends, our roommates, the needs of the animals, the plants, and the mineral kingdom and Mother Earth. We can be as close to our circle as expanding as we need, thinking about what others need and what are their hopes and wishes for their lives. Perhaps you have not become aware that where you are, and no matter how, you can begin the service most properly addressed to the roles of angels. So right now, MeiMei is telling you and I, where you are, and no matter how, so meaning wherever you find yourself in the world and how you are, no matter if you're small, if you're tall, if you're short, if you're big, if you're a specific color or gender, sexual orientation, biological, right? Sex, male, female, so on and so forth. You are able to begin, you can begin the service that is addressed to the role of angels. So sometimes we ask ourselves, what are the superior spirits? So we know we evolve. Let's just a couple of steps back. We know we evolve. We go to the Spirit's book between item 100 and question 113 or 116. We have the hierarchy of spirits. I know the laws of progress. You evolve to be superior spirits. What are those superior spirits or angels, which is a higher category of superior spirits, doing? Right? Are they just sitting around on the clouds, eating grapes and playing harps? That's the version that I grew up with from the Catholic Church, right? You go to heaven and you spend heaven enjoying yourself. But that's not necessarily what the angels do. They do service. And service means I serve others. I'm not here to be served, right? When we pray for our guardian angel, we know they're here helping us. They're serving us. And through service, they are also evolving. I do not know if you have already noticed, MeiMei continues, more closely, the sad man who sometimes crosses your path near your home. So there are always in each and every neighborhood different people who are sad crossing our paths, even though their physiology may not be of sadness. With such a strange, closed expression, you are still waiting for a smile, a slight smile, but try to imagine his hopes. So if you come across someone who is having a hard time, a hard day, and seems sad or depressed, closed expression, and we're waiting for them to smile, let's think about what might be happening in their lives. And she says, MeiMei says, he is a companion with a paralyzed wife and 4 children in need of support. So here's the situation. We never know what needs others have in their lives, what is going on in their lives. We only see a sliver of what's shown to us. Certainly, you do not have the means to satisfy all the demands, or maybe you do. Some people do have the means to satisfy many demands, because some of us have a lot of wealth and some of us hoard a lot of wealth. Let's be honest, there's a lot of people in the world with lots of money doing the good, but there's also a lot who could do more. Maybe that's not where we are, but she says that's okay if we don't have the means to satisfy all the demands. However, among all, he has the simplest desire. He wishes for the younger son to be more tightly wrapped up during the night, so he is in need of comfort, warmth. Remember, today maybe you are in a place where we have heat and air conditioning, but other places of the world there is still times of cold and excessive heat. It will not cost you much to offer this man, remember the one of the clothes expression, a blanket so his desires come true. Take heart in his condition, and it will transform that bitter face into joy that lies imprisoned in his chest by cuffs of discouragement. Imagine you work so hard and you have a wife with special needs and children who are in need of support. So that parent wants the best for their child, and we all do. But sometimes we go a little bit above and beyond, and we have so much that we don't recognize that others around us may have less. She continues, not example. Perhaps you ignore the woman of an unpleasant presence that expresses herself through offensive language, but she's nothing more than asked for ingrained observation. So we find someone demanding the manager, finding the absurdity of the quality of the service, being very vocal, maybe they're just in need of attention. She was abandoned by her companion, who left her with two defenseless little ones, very common on the earth for a partner to leave and the partner left behind has needs. On top of not having work to assure her survival, she ends up on roads that lead her to more anguish. That might be a situation we come across. And what can we do? She says. MeiMei says, of course, you'll not be able to alleviate all of the worries. However, all it might take to simply assist her in the sense of fulfilling her desire is just to enroll her 7-year-old son in a public school. So maybe just because of the work she needs, or maybe the lack of knowledge of the resources available, you could help by enrolling the son in school. The daughter. Do this and note the gratitude that will be expressed from within towards you in the form of sympathy. Every time we take the time to observe and honor others' wishes within the means we have in the physical or other modalities of wish, then we are making connections. We are connecting heart to heart. We are making friends in the physical realm, in the spiritual realm. We don't do it in order to make friends, but we know that when we do the good, we attract the good and we connect with the good spirits, and then they can help us help ourselves and others. And we may have other cases, many other cases, she continues, that of a sick person who would be comforted with 10 minutes of your inspiring words. Visit a hospital, volunteer the right way with the background checks to do the work if you have a special need. Go sit with the elderly in nursing homes. So many say this. You know, when I'm old, there are a lot of elderly who do not have the attention of their loved ones in nursing homes and assisted living facilities all over the world, even if they're not called that. The irritated neighbor who changed for the better with your friendly smile. So be the one to start the smile versus waiting for someone to smile back. Or that a friend locked in domestic hardships asking you for some phrases of peace and optimism that may bring the shadows to the light. Many options. Learn how to stay out of your own worries to understand the hopes of others. Friends, she's inviting us to get out of our own self-pity and our selfishness, to be selfless, to even have the mind with it all, to help and assist someone else. And mitigate. She says, learn to stay out of your own worries, to understand. First, we need to know what they need, whoever the other is in your life. Then we can mitigate the need. Every second Saturday here in Richmond, we volunteer with a food bank. And then it's so touching to see that people wait in their cars for hours before we start the distribution of food. And it's not a pleasant place to be, vulnerable and watched and sitting there waiting. But we understand the need. The need is for nutrition. And then the food bank gathers the supplies and we provide the service of serving those clients. So we need to understand what they need and then we can mitigate them. Even if you're not able to donate the whole truckload of food, you can go there and help distribute it. One example, of course. Learn how to stay out of your, okay. Then you will be serving in the mission of the angel. So your guardian angel does the same for you. He or she is by your side 24/7. Never despair. And they understand what we need and they help us mitigate the need. Of course, they do it in a more subtle way, because what would be the merit if they just did it all for us? But then we have to be humble to understand that we have needs as well, and we ask of them, and that's what they do for us. Finding your own happiness. When we serve in the mission of the angels is to understand and mitigate the needs of others, then we are evolving each and every day. Finding our own happiness, because that's ultimately what it is to be evolved, is to find happiness with God in the happier worlds, but we are still a little far away from that. So we start today finding happiness in service where we are. For every individual whom you decide to offer specks of help will make of you a luminous piece in the presence of God. So your light will shine when we serve others. And let me make clear, we do not want to say that we serve others just by doing things for our immediate family, as you have to take care of family. But we also need to take care of community and neighborhoods and Spiritist groups and churches and synagogues, whichever place of worship we are at. A third space is to bring people together to serve. So we cannot use, oh, I'm serving my family as an excuse. We need to go above and beyond, because if I'm blessed to be here today on this earth, whatever I am in the world, I am able to start the work of service that ultimately will make us happy, and it will allow us to evolve to be one day the superior spirits that we are destined to be. Dear friends, this is from the book God Awaits by MeiMei Francisco Candido Xavier. And this whole book has been studied at Kardec Radio by our dear Vanessa Saloni. So please visit the YouTube channel of Kardec Radio. Please comment, like, and subscribe. And God willing, we'll be back together next week for another study of the Spiritist magazine. Take care, stay well, stay safe, and I sure hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.